aren't many X-Men members who have only joined the team in the past decade, but for you nerds, I have managed to find some more. First appearing in Extraordinary X-Men number 17 in December of 2016, Lucid, aka Maya Jackson, was a mutant whose powers developed faster compared to most other mutants. By the age of 10, she had the ability to see through solid objects, and she had big aspirations to join up with her heroes, the X-Men. When the M-Pox crisis broke out, however, Maya was visited by Iceman and Magic at her family's home and was offered the chance to move to the safe zone of X-Haven in Limbo. Unfortunately, Maya's mother refused to leave her home, and Maya later fell ill to M-Pox, and her mother fled to X-Haven just a little bit too late. Maya's condition had worsened to the point that not even mutant healers could help her. With Maya on her deathbed, her sister managed to get the current leader of the X-Men, Storm, to meet Maya, and just a few moments before she passed away, Maya was officially made a member of the X-Men under the alias she had created for herself, Lucid. She may not be the most powerful of the characters on this list, but her story is pretty powerful, and I like it. Now this next mutant isn't very new to the X-Men, as he first appeared in New X-Men Volume 2, number 7 in December of 2004, but I actually didn't even know he existed until writing this list. His name is Paris Gavaskar, aka Indra. Indra comes from a region outside of Mumbai, India, and when his mutant power of being able to summon a retractable exoskeleton manifested, he enrolled as a student at the Xavier Institute and moved to the United States. Initially, Paris was placed on Alpha Squadron under the watchful eye of Northstar. Paris was one of the few mutants at the Xavier Institute to retain his powers after End Day, and he was one of the young mutants to take part in a sparring exercise to determine the new X-Men roster, despite the fact that he holds pacifist beliefs. He would later move to San Francisco with the other X-Men before being attacked, losing his powers, and then gaining a power boost, being able to produce psionic armor and offensive tools. He would side with Wolverine during the Schism event and relocated to Krakoa in the modern age. Next up, first appearing in X-Men Blue number 6 in June of 2017, the Madripoor mutant calling herself Gazing Nightshade, which is the coolest name ever, was part of the ruthless mutant vigilantes who were inspired by Wolverine called the Raksha. This group was stopped by Jimmy Hudson and the X-Men and eventually were invited to the X-Mansion. Now Gazing Nightshade has the really cool mutant ability of despair inducement, meaning whoever Nightshade gazes upon enters into a trance-like state of sorrow fueled by their deepest regrets. And to make it just 10 times more metal, both the eyes of Gazing Nightshade's victims and her own eyes bleed when she uses her powers. That is super cool, but also kind of terrifying. She joins Polaris's makeshift roster of X-Men in X-Men Blue number 25 in 2018 before going back to the Raksha. Now this one may be a bit of a controversial pick. Marvel has been doing some interesting things with the character of Kamala Khan recently. Kamala has been a favorite of many Marvel fans as Miss Marvel since her first appearance in 2014. When she first gained her powers, it was due to her being exposed to the Terrigen Mist and undergoing inhuman Terrigenesis. Kamala discovered she was now a polymorph and could change her body into virtually anything. Cool, so she's an Inhuman. She was mega popular and joined a bunch of different teams, including the Avengers. Very recently though, Kamala actually ended up biting the dust in a very high profile and pretty controversial move in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man number 26. But then, in X-Men The Hellfire Gala 2023 number 1, Miss Marvel was resurrected on the mutant nation of Krakoa. Charles Xavier then explains to Kamala that she was able to be resurrected because of her latent X gene, and that apparently he has known her to be a mutant for quite some time. Xavier explains that she is in fact a mutant and an Inhuman, something that should be impossible because the Terrigen Mists are supposed to take the lives of those who possess an X gene. But because Kamala underwent Terrigenesis, her X gene never actually manifested her powers yet. Now she's running around with the X-Men, admittedly not doing very much. Angelica Jones, also known as Firestar, has the awesome mutant ability of microwave energy manipulation and generation. She uses the Earth's magnetic field and converts it into microwave radiation. She also absorbs microwave radiation from her environment and from stars in the galaxy. She can then focus this energy at targets or to do different things. She can set targets on fire, explode them, and even melt them. She is constantly constantly keeping her powers in check because she has the potential to damage the entire Earth and its atmosphere with her abilities, which is why she is even more powerful in space, where she isn't limited by the fragility of the Earth. Now, Angelica first appeared in Uncanny X-Men number 193 in February of 1985, but crucially, she was actually a villain. She was loyal to Emma Frost and her school of mutants, and would be on the Hellions, the New Warriors, the Avengers, and the Young Allies before she joined the X-Men in Amazing X-Men Volume 2 number 1 in 2013. And she has been on different iterations of the team, even serving as the secret double agent within Orchis during the current Fall of X event. Speaking of the Fall of X, when Orchis made their attack on Krakoa at the most recent Hellfire Gala, it was quite literally just as the new team of X-Men were finally announced. Among that team of mutants was Prodigy, aka David Alain. Growing up, David was always bright and intelligent, but when his mutant powers activated, his intelligence seemed to double and answers became almost instant for him. That's because his mutant ability is to telepathically absorb the knowledge and skills of anyone nearby. I wish I had that power. Although he first appeared in 2003, he was first placed on Moonstar's New Mutants training squad and went on to join the New X-Men in 2008, and has been on X-Factor Investigations, New Mutants, the Champions Reinforcement Roster, the Young Avengers, the New Mutant Squad, all before finally making it onto the actual premier X-Men team, only to be completely obliterated by Nimrod. Sorry. Now, all the way back in the day, when Hope Summers came back from her future travels with Cable, there were 5 mutants whose X-gene and abilities were activated following M-Day. These 5 were known as the Lights, and they were the first mutants since the events of M-Day, making them pretty important. IJ Onkokwo was 14 years old, living in Nigeria's Delta State when her mutant powers of thermokinesis activated, causing her to accidentally burn down her entire village. She was almost taken out by the military until the X-Men showed up to save her. Now, under the direction of Hope Summers and with the consent of Cyclops, Okonkwo, who took on the name Oya, and the other Lights began training as a rescue team for any other new mutant manifestations. Oya's ability of thermokinesis allows her to alter temperatures around her, with the limitation being that she cannot simply create hot or cold temperatures, she can only rechannel pre-existing temperature, meaning she needs the presence of heat to generate cold, and vice versa. Now, Oya first appeared in Uncanny X-Men number 528 in September of 2010, and under the name Tempest, she will be joining a new group of X-Men led by Cyclops later this year, alongside another interesting new X-Man. Although Kane Marco, also known as the Juggernaut, has been around since 1965 and had an on-again, off-again relationship with the X-Men ever since Uncanny X-Men number 425 from June of 2003, when he first joined the team, it never really stuck. He would return to a life of villainy, usually thanks to Sidorak, who isn't really a fan of helping people. Therefore, it is totally valid, in my mind, to say that Juggy only really joined the X-Men for reals in Uncanny X-Men Volume 5 number 16 from 2019. The X-Men were fighting the latest incarnation of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, led by an imposter Magneto. Juggernaut didn't like that he was working for an imposter, so he took down the imposter and decided to join the X-Men. He would be voted on to the newest incarnation of the X-Men at the most recent Hellfire Gala, before almost the entire team was brutally decimated by Orchis. When Marvel relaunches their X-Men titles in the summer of 2024, this year, Juggernaut is on the roster for the main Cyclops-led X-Men team alongside Beast, Magneto, Psylocke, Kid Omega, Temper, and Magic. But speaking of the X-Men relaunch that is happening, we are getting 3 main X-Men titles. There is just the X-Men, which is the team that Juggernaut is on, led by Cyclops, but we will also have the Uncanny X-Men, which is a team led by Rogue, with Wolverine, Gambit, Nightcrawler, and Jubilee, and in Eve Ewing and Carmen Carnero's Exceptional X-Men, Kate Pryde, Shadowcat, will become a mutant teacher again in Chicago, working with Emma Frost, and 3 entirely new young mutants named Bronze, Axe Saxo and Mealy. Being so new and with their book not starting for a few more months, we actually have basically no information on any of these mutants. The only thing I could really find here is another character named Mealy who first appeared in 2007 as part of the Civil War 50 States Initiative, and she doesn't have any information outside of that era of Marvel, and she wasn't even a mutant that we know of. So it seems that this new Mealy and her two new X-Men newbies are freshly created for the new Exceptional X-Men title, so I'm excited to learn more. But finally, we arrive at Synch. Synch has the mutant ability of power mimicry, meaning, like Rogue, Synch can copy the powers of other mutants. But unlike Rogue, Synch has the benefit of not doing harm to whoever he is borrowing powers from, and he can also do it without physical touch. Recently though, after being resurrected, Synch got a bit of a power boost, and he may even become a new Omega level mutant. In the story, Synch not only uses his normal mutant powers to replicate the abilities of the mutants Sunfire and Cyclops while they were both nearby, but he's also able to tap into Jean Grey's telekinetic abilities while she is on Mars. Synch's growth in power post-resurrection was first noticed back in 2021's X-Men number 18, with Synch documenting that he was now able to sync not just with mutants, but other superhumans as well, which is quite the boost, and I think it just keeps going up and up and up. In the House of M alternate reality, Synch even got to the point of permanently retaining others' powers, which would be an incredibly significant power boost as well. As a main member of the X-Men though, it's hard to be surprised that he's getting power boosts. And that, nerds, is part 3 in the bag. Thank you so much for watching today on Top 10 Nerd. I'm Adam Andrews. I will catch you all on the flippity flop, but until then, stay safe and peace out, nerds.